To somebody where I experienced something that I never thought was possible. People dying from starvation. And then to Rome, where I met the Pope, who blessed me. Just you wait.
It was May 1941. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president. America was on the brink of entering World War II. Joe Louis was adding another victim to his Bum of the Month club. The opponent was the ponderous Buddy Bear. And at Griffith Stadium here in Washington, D.C., about 25,000 spectators witnessed the first heavyweight championship held in the nation's capital. Louis, knocked out of the ring in the opening round, as you see there, managed to maintain his composure and successfully defended the title when Bear didn't answer the bell for the 8th round. So tonight, 52 years and 31 heavyweight champions later, the World Heavyweight Championship returns to Washington, D.C. as Riddick Bowe makes his second title defense against Jesse Ferguson. We bring you back live to ringside once again. I'm Jim Lampley along with HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Larry, Riddick Bowe is favored in this fight, similarly in proportion to the way that Mike Tyson was favored against Buster Douglas in Tokyo a few years ago. When a guy is a 30 or 40-to-1 underdog, as Ferguson is, do you find yourself still getting excited about a heavyweight championship bout?
Well, I confess that I don't feel the same tingle of excitement that I felt for Ali Fraser 1 or even for Bowe and Holyfield. But it is a heavyweight championship fight, and the way I look at it is this. Riddick Bowe is a very good young heavyweight champion. He may defend his title only 3 or 4 or 5 times, or he may turn out to be an outstanding champion and defend it 10 or 15 or 20 times. This is one of the times that he's going to defend it. We have a chance here to watch a heavyweight champion do his stuff. Now that is the likely scenario, the likely upside of this event. But there is an unlikelier upside that could happen. We could get something more dramatic than we know, as we did when Mike Weaver, who had a record very similar to Ferguson, almost defeated Larry Holmes, an undefeated heavyweight champion. And Bert Cooper, on a week's notice, almost knocked out Evander Holyfield. So it's a heavyweight championship fight. You never know. To me, there's no downside.
And of course, we need not even mention again February 10, 1991 in Tokyo, when Mike Tyson had what many still regard as his letdown against Buster Douglas. In his first title defense against a woefully unprepared Michael Dokes, Riddick Bowe was sharp, focused, did his business. Is there inevitably going to be a letdown somewhere along the line, Gil, when you keep fighting opponents like this?
Well, yes, I certainly think there's going to be a letdown. You know, the fact that he came in a little heavier for this fight is an indication to me that he may not be in the best of condition. But you know, Jim, to me in sports, the most exciting words for an announcer to say is for the heavyweight championship of the world. And Jesse Ferguson is going to be motivated and determined. But he's outgunned in every other department. I don't think he can beat Bowe inside. I don't think he can beat him outside. I don't think he punches as hard. So it could be a very, very tough night for Jesse Ferguson.
Of course, that's been the case for Ferguson against 9 of his last 15 opponents. And if there are questions about Bowe, many of them relate to the events of April 29, when he was apparently injured in a sparring session in training. That injury was originally described as a rib injury. In fact, that was the way Riddick was referring to it when we visited him on May 2.
I was sparring. I made a sudden move, and I believe I tore something. But right now, they can't find anything on the x-rays. I've never been stabbed before, but I have to say it feels like somebody's sticking a knife in me. It's very sharp. I don't think I would jeopardize my title for anything. If I'm not 110%, I don't think I would enter the ring.
In the days following that interview, Bowe's manager, Rock Newman, labored to present the impression that what had taken place was not a rib injury, but rather a wrist injury. Further confusion about Bowe's condition. Yesterday, I asked Rock Newman to settle it once and for all.
It became a rib injury, it became a heart attack, it became an eye injury, it became several other injuries. There's a mystery to what happened to Riddick Bowe, and for right now it'll remain such.
And you, of course, were in no way a participant in the development of that mystery, or were you the orchestrator of it?
What? Of course not.
Of course not. Now, there's a compelling logic to the notion that if a fighter sustained a rib injury in training and was getting ready to go against a body puncher like Jesse Ferguson,
his manager might want to present the image that that was not a rib injury at all, so that no encouragement would be given to the opponent.
You know, you're probably talking about some of the guys in the business who are much brighter than me. Certainly, I would never have thought of that until you just brought it up.
Was Riddick hurt at all in training?
Yes, he did have a bit of a setback.
And was it the wrist injury that you described?
Yes.
Gil Clancy, you think there's any chance Riddick Bowe will be affected by an injury here tonight?
Well, they're talking about a rib injury. You know, Jim, if you have a rib injury, it takes a long time to heal. Every time you breathe, your ribs go separate and they come back together. They're connected by cartilage. So if he had a rib injury, he wouldn't be in the fight. The way they've been matching him with these opponents, you'd have to fight my grandmother to be in the ring with an injured rib. But let's look and see what happens if he does get hit in the ribs.
And speaking of grandmothers, there may be questions about Bowe's condition. There are no questions about his upbringing. If behind every heavyweight champion there's a great woman, behind Riddick Bowe it is his mother, Big Dot.
Dear Mom, I'm coming to the end of my training. Thank God. I can't wait for the fight. I've been thinking all week about how much life has changed. It's unbelievable.
Sometimes it seems like a dream. God only knows that I could never have done it without your love and support.
Riddick Bowe's journey through life has been perilous. 12th of 13 children, he grew up in a Brownsville, Brooklyn housing project the locals called Gunsmoke City. Survival in this drug-ravaged environment is routinely characterized as a miracle. And Riddick had a miracle in his mother, Dorothy, who raised her 13 children alone while sheltering them from the mean streets of despair.
I tried to teach them right. I always wanted to be a leader. And I would tell them, stay in the house, do like Mommy said, you won't have nothing to worry about.
My mother, she was I guess a firm person, and what she said, she meant. I had a great deal of respect for my mother when I was growing up, watching what she went through and what she stood for. I think that kind of molded me into what I am today.
There was no question who called the shots in the Bowe household. When Big Dot talked, her children listened. She taught Riddick at an early age that if he stayed out of trouble, there were no goals which couldn't be reached.
My mother always led by example. She didn't use drugs. Very seldom she would leave the house other than to go to work. I can recall on several different occasions walking my mother at work. There were a lot of things taking place in the neighborhood that I thought, didn't make the streets safe. We walked for about 15, 20 minutes, and from corner to corner, I was always yapping.
He would tell me, I'm going to be heavyweight champion, but I never did like boxing. I didn't want him to box.
I guess at that time, she kind of figured that I was a dreamer. And I used to say, Mom, I'm going to buy you a house, and one day you're not going to have to work anymore. And she said, shut up, boy. Just don't go to jail, because I'm not coming there to see you.
Dorothy Bowe wept over the troubles of some of her children, but never her youngest son. Riddick was an example that strong convictions precede great actions. Against his mother's wishes, he became a professional fighter. And on November 13, 1992, against Evander Holyfield, his dream came true.
I wanted my mother there because I realized then that throughout the years what I've explained to her and told her was about to come true. And I wanted her to be a part of it.
Both stunts him with an uppercut, and just like that, the champion struggles to stay on his feet.
She inspired me when I was tired. I said, Mom's in the audience, and I had to fight a little harder. And I think that made a big difference.
And new heavyweight champion of the world!
When I saw my mother, when she got inside of the ring, I think I got flashes of the struggle that we went through. I couldn't do nothing but cry. She cried, I cried, my wife cried. We were like three big babies up there crying.
That's an evening I'll never forget.
Dorothy Bowe spent 22 years of her life taking care of Riddick. This past December, the heavyweight champion of the world thanked her for her lifelong commitment by moving her out of the stormy subculture of Brownsville and into a new home in suburban Maryland.
I know a lot of other people who have been fortunate to get out of the ghetto, and they forgot about, the people who were with them while they were struggling. And I think my mother is just so giving, it would be hard for me to just even to forget about her for 1 minute.
Oh, yeah. Mother.
'cause you've been more than just a mother to me.
It may not be a monumental confrontation, but it takes place in a dramatic setting. Riddick Bowe outdoors in RFK Stadium, defending his heavyweight championship against Jesse Ferguson. Ferguson not ranked in the top 10 by the three governing bodies which dictate the terms of the heavyweight championship, but nevertheless here tonight. And Gil Clancy, I got to start with you here. Jesse Ferguson's chances against Riddick Bowe, what must he do to be a factor in the fight?
Well, first of all, I think Riddick Bowe is going to try to control the fight with his left jab. Ferguson somehow is going to have to get underneath that jab, bang to the body, try to rough Riddick Bowe up and hope for the best.
Larry Merchant, best case scenario, what can Jesse hope for?
Well, I think of the odds are about like that fellow beat when he threw the basketball from one end of the court into the other. 1 minute he was making $5 an hour. The next minute he was a millionaire, and Michael Jordan was hugging him. But the challenger says, look, I beat Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas was a champion. Why can't I become a champion? The logic may be assailable, but the hopes and dreams aren't, at least until the fight starts.
Unless you are a devoted boxing fan, you may never before have heard of Jesse Ferguson. So here, via our HBO production talents, Jesse Ferguson's Moment in the Sun on this network.
Apollo Creed on January 1st gives a local underdog fighter an opportunity.
In boxing, real life can imitate art. Jesse Ferguson can be seen now as a real-life Rocky. His life reads like a movie script. Ferguson grew up in rural Knightdale, North Carolina, one of 13 children of dirt-poor tobacco farm workers, William and Jesse Ferguson.
We didn't have a TV for up until I was 21. I left and joined the service. We just listened to the radio and my daddy. That was it. And that was hard.
To escape the sweltering tobacco fields, Jesse joined the Marines, and there, at the relatively advanced age of 22, he learned to box. Success came quickly, and soon Jesse was a pro, thrown into the ring with top contender Carl the Truth Williams after just 13 pro fights. He got knocked out, and 2 fights later met teenage phenomenon Mike Tyson. He'll forever be remembered for what Tyson said after this fight, that he had attempted to uppercut Ferguson's nose bone right through his brain.
He was a little thug, you know. That's the only thing he knew, was how to fight and how to hurt people. And I'm in the fight game, and that can happen to me. So it really didn't have a factor on me at all.
The Tyson fight had one indelible effect. In the eyes of the voters, Ferguson was reduced in status from contender to opponent. For the next 6 years, he barnstormed the country, winning 4 and losing 7 against a collection of contenders and up-and-comers. He also served as a sparring partner to make ends meet.
When you sparring with Mike Tyson, you don't walk in the ring and say, and his corner says, just go to his body. His corner says, survive. And that's what you have to do. When you Razor Ruddock the same way, Lennox Lewis, Michael Moore, you have to do all those things. You don't just go to their body or just use jabs. You have to fight to survive.
In February, Jesse the Boogeyman Ferguson finally lived up to his nickname by soundly decisioning Ray Mercer. He ruined Mercer's shot at a title. Reports that Mercer attempted to bribe Jesse during the fight were never substantiated. And suddenly, Ferguson was next in line for Bowe.
Back in the old days, when you beat a top contender, the guy who beat the top contender normally gets a title shot. Well, today, that doesn't happen.
Initial sentiment wasn't entirely cynical. Ferguson seemed due for a shot, even though he was known as a career sparring partner. With the politics of boxing screaming no, Riddick Bowe was watching the Rocky film.
He's going to prove it to the whole world by giving an unknown a shot at the title. And that unknown is you.
So life did imitate art. Jesse Ferguson got his title shot. Ferguson's managers, who run a golf driving range in Manhattan, found themselves dealing with Bowe's manager, Rock Newman.
Rock offered us a sum of money that was more than triple Jesse's career earnings. Jesse's been fighting for 10 years. Basically, we hammered out the deal 1, 2, 3.
Ferguson's purse will be about $500,000. To a man who didn't have a television until he was 21, It was like winning the lottery and realizing a rich and famous dream.
Jesse Ferguson, you've just been handed $500,000. With this, you could buy this speedboat, drive away in this Rolls Royce, buy diamonds for your beautiful wife, and get that home entertainment system you always wanted. All with $100,000 to spare.
It's just like Rocky. It's just like a guy who's overlooked as a sparring partner, going from gym to gym. Then all of a sudden the champion says, I want to fight it, because he liked his name, Italian Stallion. So the boogeyman, it has a ring to it. Well, I want to let the champion know that it's going to be a real scary night.
How will the ending to this real-life story be written? The movie Rocky was meant to be a fairy tale. Ring reality could be much more cruel to Jesse Ferguson. After having spent much of his career working as a construction worker and a security guard to supplement his meager boxing earnings, Jesse Ferguson came up to this fight beneficiary for the first time ever of having a full 7-week training camp of his own. Result, at age 36, Ferguson, 224 pounds, is in unquestionably the best shape of his career. Some suspect he may have overdone it. He's not accustomed to coming in like this.
Well, you know, he's a guy that would take fights on 5 days' notice, 1 week's notice, and he'd win, he'd lose. This time he's been handled like a champion. He's in great shape for the fight. I just hope that he doesn't fight worse than he fought when he was taking these fights on short notice.
But here's a man who has a $10,000 opponent, a setup, defeated the named next challenger for the title, who was about to make $1 million or more. Why can't he think, well, for $500,000 as an opponent, why shouldn't I beat a guy out of a $50 million in potential earnings? Riddick Bowe.
Not only did he defeat Ray Mercer to knock him out of the scheduled title shot, for which Mercer had been guaranteed $1 million, but he soundly beat him in a 10-round unanimous decision in which some of us at ringside thought that Jesse won every single round. There are the numbers. He won his first 13 fights. The 13th victory was against Buster Douglas. Since that time, he has lost 9 of the next 15, including 4 of the last 6.
What they say about a fighter like this is he's been in with everybody. He's fought every tough guy. He's been a sparring partner with champions. He's never gone out easily. He's always been in there, and he's always given you rounds.
He's going to have the motivation in this fight. And, you know, everybody's writing him off. Well, Bowe is going to win the fight easily, etc. But I know the people in Riddick Bowe's corner, they're worrying about the fact that Riddick Bowe can get cut in the fight. He could hurt his hand, whatever else.
Riddick Bowe, customarily calm and relaxed, as I mentioned before, as he walks out of his dressing room behind trainer Eddie Futch to make his way toward the ring. Bowe is Futch's 18th world champion in his long career as a trainer, the 6th heavyweight champion that Futch has trained.
Well, that is a remarkable record. You talk about somebody in the Hall of Fame, he's definitely has the best record of any trainer in history. There's never been another Eddie Futch.
And of course, you'll recall the story. After Bowe lost the 1988 Olympic final to Lennox Lewis, there were many in the sport who said, he's a dog, he doesn't have heart. But Rock Newman believed in him, signed him to a management contract, and then persuaded Eddie Futch to train him. And that may have been, in effect, the turning point in Riddick Bowe's career.
Well, Rock Newman and Eddie Futch both have done remarkable jobs. You know, that word was the word around the New York gyms, the fact that Riddick Bowe didn't have the heart to fight. He'd get hurt. The rumors went out. He got hurt by this sparring partner. He got hurt by that sparring partner. And it wasn't really a demand for too many people to sign Riddick Bowe. But Rock Newman believed in him, invested his money in him, got the best trainer in the business. Eddie Futch has done a remarkable job. And you just have a real good, solid fighter right now.
And he emerges from the dressing room to fight in his manager's hometown, where Rock Newman is a big public figure.
offer of $700,000 more than he got to come to Washington, D.C. because he wanted to see a heavyweight championship fight in his hometown.
The district forked over $1.1 million to bring the fight here. Newman says he was offered $1.8 million by Portland, Oregon, of all places.
Well, if Rock Newman says it, it must be gospel.
These days, you don't argue with Rock Newman.
Get more and more excited as he gets closer to the ring.
Well, Rock Newman just danced into the ring. I thought he was going to fight Jesse Ferguson. He's bouncing around right now, warming up. And here comes Riddick Bowe, calm as can be.
They bring the 2 world championship belts that Bowe controls into the ring. Remember, he's the IBF and WBA world champion. He relinquished the WBC championship after his victory over Holyfield, and that title was conferred upon Lennox Lewis. So there's the record for Bowe: 33 wins, no losses, 28 KOs. And let's take a look now at the tail of the tape. And you will see that Bowe weighed in at 244 pounds. That's 9 pounds more than he weighed when he won the title from Holyfield. His trainer, Eddie Futch, says that's no problem. He's still growing. Ferguson, 224, 10 pounds less than he weighed when he fought against Mercer, and unquestionably in the best shape of his career. Punch stat numbers, Larry.
The numbers are similar, but the opponents they've been landed against are not similar. And this is Bowe's big tactical advantage, the jab. He throws a big, heavy jab, and he can control the fight with it, as Gil Clancy pointed out.
Rules of the bout, Harold Letterman.
Riddick Bowe and Jesse Ferguson will box tonight using the rules of the World Boxing Association. No standing 8 count. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. You can be saved by the belt in the last round only. Only the referee can stop the fight. And in case of an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards after 3 rounds have been completed. Before that, it's a technical draw. Jim.
All right, Harold, let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the featured bout of the evening, brought to you by Spencer Promotions Incorporated and the D.C. Armory Board in association with Caesar's World. This bout is sanctioned by the Washington, D.C. Boxing Commission, Chairman Jeffrey Gildenhorn, Commissioner Dr. Arnold McKnight, Deputy Commissioner Gilbert Ware, and it is sanctioned by the World Boxing Association, President Gilberto Mendoza, Supervisor in attendance Maurice Sleep, the physicians in attendance at ringside, Dr. Edward Mosley, Dr. Willie Blair, and Dr. Donald Schell. The timekeeper is Floyd Lumpkin, counting for the knockdown seconds, Andre Davis. The 3 judges assigned at ringside to score this bout on a 10-point must system will be Sheila Harmon Martin, Patricia Jarman, and Gene Williams. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action working for the 40th time in a world title bout, referee Larry Hazard. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the capital city of the United States of America, Washington, District of Columbia, let's get ready to rumble! 12 rounds of boxing for the heavyweight championship of the world. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trunks trimmed in white. After training at the House of Pain Gym in Newark, New Jersey, he comes in at a hard and ready weight of 224 pounds. His hometown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His professional record, 19 victories against 9 defeats. And his left hook has earned him 13 KOs. He's ranked number 12 in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cinderella Challenger, Jesse Boogeyman Ferguson. And across the ring, his opponent in the red corner, wearing white trunks with red trim, he weighs in tonight at 244 pounds. He comes into the ring as an adopted son of the D.C. area by way of the main streets of Brooklyn, New York. He's a 1988 Olympic silver medalist with a professional record of 33-0, 28 knockouts. 18 of his KOs came by the second round, and 12 went down in the very first round. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, Riddick, Big Daddy Bowe!
Send him out of here. All right, let's go. Okay, gentlemen, I've already gone over the rules with you. Let me just remind you. I want a good, clean fight, and you ought to obey my commands at all times. You have any questions at this time? Okay, shake hands now. Take your corners. Good luck to you both.
Ferguson said before this fight, Jim and Gil, that if he goes out and won, he doesn't want the money. I've never heard such motivation to get through a round in my life.
Sounds pretty good to me, too.
Ferguson claims that he bet $10,000 on himself in Las Vegas at odds of 32-1.
Not understanding that if he wins the fight, it's worth millions and millions and millions.
And if he loses the fight in the first round, he won't be able to pay the $10,000.
Jesse Ferguson's trainer tells us that his fighter is conditioned to throw 300 punches around. That, of course, is a physical impossibility. But the trainer claims that they will be trying to throw 100 punches around at Riddick Bowe.
Well, he has to get through that left jab of Riddick Bowe's to throw any kind of a punch. And there's Bowe already snapping that left jab out. There it is again and again.
And Ferguson himself admits that he can't stay out there at the end of Bowe's jab. He's going to have to find a way to get inside of it. You go inside, then you face the prospect of the uppercut. And Bowe throws the uppercut there. Ferguson landing a left hook.
And a right hand. Good solid right hand by Jesse Ferguson.
By my calculation, Gil, Jesse doesn't have a lot of punching power.
No, Riddick Bowe has the edge, punching power, hand speed, every which way. But motivation and determination can be big factors in a fight.
Solid left hook for Bowe. Ferguson stepping in, trying to get into close quarters where he thinks he can be effective. For a big man, Bowe is surprisingly good in tight.
Well, that's all that teaching. Eddie Futch has really made a remarkable fighter out of Riddick Bowe.
Uppercut for Ferguson. Bowe answers with an uppercut of his own.
Both fighters throw very, very good right-hand uppercuts on the inside. But Bowe's is better, in my opinion, and stronger.
Gil, as a career sparring partner, Jesse Ferguson has been paid much of his life to take punishment. Is that a unique qualification for stretching this fight out?
Well, we talk about sparring partner mentality, but again, Ferguson assured us yesterday when we interviewed him that he said he's going all out in this fight. He doesn't have any kind of sparring partner mentality. There's that uppercut of Bowe's again, setting up, and a good left hook by Riddick Bowe.
Ferguson stunned by the left hook. Not defending himself as well now. Bowe looking for a chance to pop it again, and the jab is dominant.
And there's the right hand uppercut inside by Riddick Bowe.
Good left hook in close by Riddick Bowe.
Set up by the uppercut again, Jim.
Bowe looks quick, doesn't look sluggish despite the extra 9 pounds above and beyond what he weighed against Holyfield.
But you have to remember, Jesse Ferguson is not moving at all, standing right in front of Riddick Bowe. And he got hurt by that left hook, Jesse Ferguson did.
Now Ferguson backs up against the ropes. Probably not a good place to be. And the left hook lands, and Ferguson goes down. Will he make it out of round one? Michael Dokes didn't. Hazard counting. 8 count. Ferguson struggling to get up, and he makes it.
How you feel, Jesse?
Okay, he earned his money. He can keep his money.
The bell saved him. They don't have the stool up in the ring. Here's a poor guy just been knocked down, just about made it up. They don't have a stool up in the ring. Where are the seconds?
There is no stool in that corner, we're told.
They're still trying to get the stool in the ring. What kind of seconds do they have in that corner?
And finally, Jesse Ferguson has a chance to sit down if he'd like.
Move your head, Jesse! Well, he's trying to get the feeling in his legs back. He's jumping up and down now.
There you see
didn't know that.
That sharp left hook after he had driven him into the ropes with some hard punching. He landed this left to the body and then a left hook. But these are 10-ounce gloves, not the 18-ounce gloves they use in the gym.
And again, Riddick Bowe hit Jesse Ferguson when he was on the canvas. The second punch, that right uppercut, was after Jesse Ferguson was down.
Punch Stat numbers say that Riddick Bowe landed 2/3 of his blows in round one. And this is going to go pretty quickly now. And that's it. A spectacular performance by Riddick Bowe against an outclassed Jesse Ferguson.
He was outclassed, but Riddick Bowe raised himself another level, in my opinion. He really looked spectacular, putting those punches together, very accurate, very hard. He showed me an awful lot in this fight, despite the fact that it didn't go very long.
It just goes to show how hard it is to throw the basketball into the basket from the other end of the court.
And as I had mentioned to you earlier, Larry, this is not basketball.
So Riddick Bowe successfully defends his WBA World Championship. The IBF Championship wasn't even at stake here because that organization chose not to sanction the bout. Let's watch the knockout. Uppercut, left hook, right, and another right. And that was enough. How many guys that big have ever had hands as quick as Riddick Bowe?
It's not only that he has quick hands, but the punches are thrown so correctly. They're on the mark. They're short. You can have fast hands. Roy Jones has fast hands, but he doesn't have the classic punches that a Riddick Bowe has.
I don't think I've ever seen a really big man as well schooled as Bowe is.
That's exactly what I was trying to say, Larry.
All right, guys, we got that worked out. Now let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Larry Hazard reaches the count of 10 at 17 seconds of round number 2. The winner by knockout victory. His record now 34-0, 29 knockouts. Still the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, Riddick Big Daddy Bowe.
So it has been Michael Dokes and Jesse Ferguson in Riddick Bowe's first 2 heavyweight title defenses. And to be honest, the heavyweight champion has barely broken a sweat here on HBO in those 2 appearances. The first round knockout over Dokes was, if you didn't see it, believe it or not, even easier than this. Ferguson at least attempted to put up some opposition, but had nothing in the face of the weapons that Bowe was able to hurl at it.
Oh, Riddick Bowe just showed everything in there. I mean, no matter what Jesse Ferguson did, Riddick Bowe had the answer. Tried to stay inside. Riddick Bowe hit him with the uppercut. Came back with the left hook. Just showed everything. Good snappy jab. I mean, he really dominated from the beginning, as he should have, and he did.
And obviously he's in there against an outclassed opponent, Gil, but do you think that Bowe was motivated to better Lennox Lewis's performance 2 weeks ago against Tony Tucker?
I really don't think so. Let's go up to the ring to Larry.
All right, Riddick Bowe is being bedecked here in championship belts.
That's right.
And
this is what it's supposed to be, Larry. And you know I'm a bad, bad man.
It doesn't look like you worked up much of a sweat, Riddick. Are you sorry about that?
Oh, not at all. I'll tell you, I work hard in the gym. I think people made a big issue about the weight. And listen, when you put your mind to something, like I said, if you feel comfortable, it doesn't matter if you come in at 250. If you're in shape, then that's all that matters.
Now, obviously, you come away from this with a lot of money. What do you get out of a fight against Jesse Ferguson as an athlete?
Hell if I know, you tell me. Well, I get a lot of great exposure.
All right, we want to take a look at some of the action here, and particularly at the first round knockdown. Would you describe it to us when we can get it up? Right now, Riddick.
Well, at this point, I'm trying to set Jesse up for the hook. Like I said, you know, earlier I will be testing his uppercut, and I will be testing mine. As you can tell, I threw it a lot of times. That left hook was lethal. You know, I've been working with that, you know, in the gym and what have you. Jesse is a rough fella. He's never been knocked out like this before, with the exception of when he fought Mike Tyson. And, you know, I got to take my hat off to Jesse. He stepped up to the challenge. But again, I told him I'm no Ray Mercer. He said he would, you know, he beat the gold medalist, but he would have had no trouble beating the silver medalist. Big difference. Don't believe me, ask.
This is the end, Riddick. Describe it to us.
2 words. Oops, there it is. You know what I'm saying? Well, 3 words. Again, you know, like I said, I was focused. I was determined to show everybody, you know, I'm the right man with the championships. You know, Lennox Lewis is a bogus champion. And this is how you're supposed to take care of a regular journeyman. If this was Tony Tucker, the same thing would have happened to him.
All right, you're putting down Lennox Lewis.
No,
but
I'm not putting down Lennox Lewis. I'm just letting you know that I'm the man.
Okay, are you going to fight Evander Holyfield next? You have a rematch clause. Is that what's going to be next up before you go to Lewis?
Well, like I said, Larry, anybody who wants to step out there and get a taste of the Big Daddy, here I am. You know, Rock and work the iron and deal out with Evander Holyfield. I wouldn't mind at all. Again, I think a guy like Evander Holyfield would always bring the best out in me. He takes a great punch, and we can expect him to be around for quite some time, but I think in the end I would knock him out.
All right, Rock, just momentarily, what is your timetable to finally go against Lennox Lewis, which is the fight everyone wants to see?
Larry, we made a legitimate offer last week to Lennox Lewis for $12 million. He and his people turned it down, I think, because they don't believe they can win the fight. I want to talk to his people this weekend while they're here in Washington to see what it takes to make the fight. Eddie Futch wants Riddick Bowe to fight Lennox Lewis. Riddick wants it, and I want it. We want to try to make it.
Do you have an obligation to fight Holyfield next?
Evander Holyfield, there was a rematch clause, and there is some issue about that rematch clause, and I will be talking to Duva about it. You know, on the horizon also is Tommy Morrison if he has a win over George Foreman. So the heavyweight picture is healthy, it's exciting, and we're going to be very busy this upcoming week.
Thank you very much, Rock. Let me turn now to Eddie Futch, if I can find him. Eddie, would you come here?
Right here.
Okay, Eddie. Another heavyweight champion wins another fight for you. Quickly, you assess that kind of a short performance by your fighter. How does it help him against this kind of fighter to progress toward what you think he eventually will be?
Every fight, he learns something. He did things tonight in this fight that he had never done in any fight before.
What?
He used the short uppercut, left hook, and right cross that brought this man down. He has used the uppercut in a counter fashion in previous fights, but this time he led off with it, and he followed with a good hook that we've been trying to get him to use. I consider it a definite advancement. He's learning more technique as he goes along.
All right, your trainer is giving you an A.
Ain't my wife beautiful?
She looks relieved that it's all over. Just one final question, Riddick. Your trainer is giving you what sounds like an A+. What do you give yourself, and how do you expect to improve in the future?
Well, I give myself about an A. Again, you know, I'm still in a learning process, and I know that, you know, I can be better than what you saw tonight. And when I reach that point, I'm going to be something to be reckoned with.
Thank you again, Riddick Bowe, the heavyweight champion. And now back to Gil and Jim.
All right, thank you very much, Larry, and a chance to reflect on the bout with heavyweight contender Tommy Morrison. Tommy, we know that Riddick earned millions of dollars of HBO money more easily than we might have liked him to. Did he earn any more of your respect than he had before?
Well, I think the fight basically went as everyone expected. I think until he faces some tougher opposition, I think there's still going to be question marks out there in people's minds. But he definitely did, he did what he came to do tonight. But I think once he steps in there with some tougher opposition, I think the Lennox Lewis thing, once it clarifies itself, people will really know who the real champion is.
For a big man, you have to be impressed with the quickness of his hands and how technically sound he is, right?
He keeps his punches are very tight and very crisp, and that's a very positive stat, especially in the heavyweight division. A lot of fighters have a tendency to get wide, and he didn't. He did a very good job tonight.
Tommy, thanks again for your time. We remind you can see Tommy against George Foreman on TVKO coming up June 7. Gil Clancy, what did Riddick prove to you?
He proved to me that he's getting better and better and better. You can just see Eddie Futch's stamp on him from the very beginning. He took this raw talent and he's molded it into what it is today. And knowing Eddie Futch, he'll still find something wrong with Riddick's performance and improve on that. And you know, the thing I like best about Riddick Bowe is that short right-hand uppercut inside. If he gets you inside, he sets you up and he hits you with that right-hand uppercut, comes back with the left hook. He's just a very, very tough guy to fight. You fight him outside, he jabs you to death. You take him inside, he beats you to death with that right uppercut. He really is a good, solid heavyweight champion as far as I'm concerned.
If he were matched against Lennox Lewis 2 months from now, is he a clear favorite in your mind?
Well, he always was a favorite. I think he's a lot busier than Lennox Lewis, and he should, in my opinion, probably win a decision. You know, Lennox Lewis is also a big guy, but Lewis is a big, dangerous guy with a looping punch, and it would be an interesting fight.
It's the fight we want to see. Gil, thanks very, very much once again for your time. We turn now to HBO analyst Larry Merchant. Your final comments on yet another easy Riddick Bowe defense. How long is the public going to put up with Jesse Ferguson and Michael Dokes?
Well, there's a body of opinion that says eventually the public will rebel, but history shows us that the public will put up with it for as long as they can, and when both fighters feel they've made as much money as they can until they have to fight each other, that's when they'll fight each other. Right now, there's a lot of incentive for Lennox Lewis not to fight Riddick Bowe. He can make an enormous payday to fight Frank Bruno over in England. Maybe he'll get to fight Morrison. That fight is already being talked about, and so on. So when it's ripe, it will happen. Right now, it's cooking, and it will build up to a crescendo. And when it happens, and I'm not going to hold my breath, but it's the fight that I, like everybody else, wants to see.
And incidentally, with regard to Rock Newman's assertion that he made a legitimate $12 million offer to